Good morning. Kate here, bringing you this week's Monday Mission, and this is number 40. We have done this for 40 weeks together. For a lot of you have been here since the first one. So this is number 40, and if you don't know, every 10 missions, I do a Q&A where I ask for things that are on your heart, things that are coming up for you, how I can support you, specific questions or scenarios, and then I go through and I answer them because I really believe that everyone can benefit from hearing what other people are going through, because a lot of it we are all experiencing, right? It's all part of the human experience. We're all sort of struggling with similar things, so it's helpful to hear the responses. So that's what I'm going to do today. So this one is probably going to be a little bit longer because we are going to address people pleasing, building intimacy with your partner, stopping negative self-talk, finding excuses or reasons to find fault in others because we're worried that we're not worthy of their love or their friendship. We're going to talk about boundaries, supporting someone that we love that's going through anxiety or that experiences anxiety, and how to deal with people with different opinions, family members with holidays coming up. I think this was a big one. So we got a lot to tackle. So a little trick that I do when I listen to podcasts or YouTube videos is I change the rate of the speed. So the default is that it would be normal speed, but you can bump it up to like 1.25 or even 1.5 so that you can hear it at a little quicker pace and still hopefully benefit from everything that I'm sharing. All right, so we are just going to dive right in, okay? So the first one that came up, so I get all of these responses and these answers from my audience on Instagram. So they respond to different polls and different question boxes that I will put up. And so one of the areas that you all needed support or wanted support is in people pleasing. So I wanted to, with each of these, I'm going to actually share a previous video number so that you can go back and look in your emails and rewatch that video. And just, I do this a lot with podcasts. I will re-listen. Because the second, third time you listen through something, you learn something new, you pick something else out. So the people-pleasing mission that we had already done was number 33. Okay, so if you go back through your emails, and if you just signed up with me and you hadn't been with us for mission number 3, let me know. As for any of these numbers, if you don't have them and you want them resent, just shoot me a message and I will specifically email that mission to you, that email video to you. Okay. So, people pleasing. The biggest takeaway that I think is the most helpful when we talk about people pleasing is recognizing that it is actually a survival strategy. Okay, it is a technique for several different things, and the way that it shows up for you may be different than someone else. But a lot of the ways that people pleasing shows up is to avoid conflict with other people. So we don't want to have to engage in any uncomfortable conversations or deal with any kind of conflict. And this can show up for you in different ways. It could be for many different reasons that this shows up for you. It could be that your household was very chaotic and you learned that people pleasing and making sure that everybody else's needs were met over your own was a survival technique. It helped you avoid that chaos, that conflict, okay? So that might be what shows up for you. It might be that you just want to make sure that everyone else is comfortable and doesn't have to deal with any kind of discomfort. You blame yourself for everything. You feel like you can control the situation and control the environment so that no one else has to feel discomfort, right? Because you don't think that you would know how to handle that, right? It could be that you people please because you desperately want other people to like you and to think good things, think positively about you, okay? And recognizing that these all have different root causes and that they are all strategies for survival. They worked for you at some point, okay? It is not a character flaw. It's not a disorder. It's not a horrible personality trait, right? It was a strategy that worked for you at some time, okay? Now, if you're noticing that people pleasing is really getting in the way of you growing and evolving and feeling comfort in your own life, then that's when you say, okay, people pleasing just is not working for me anymore. and I want to change that, and it can be changed. Okay, but it's going to take, doing the work and doing some thought work and managing your mind, but you can change it. All right, but that first step is being aware and really asking yourself, why do I do this? Why do I agree to do something for someone else when I just want to go home and be with my family? Why do I put my own needs aside so that someone else doesn't have to deal with any kind of discomfort? Why do I do that? And just ask yourself, be curious, and accept the fact that this is something that you've used in the past and that you're trying to change it. It's actually one of the threat responses now that they've added. So, right, you've probably already heard about fight, flight, or freeze. Was the most recent one they kind of discussed, and now a new one that they're talking about is fawning, FAWN. And this is that people pleaser, perfectionist, outsourcing our validation type of threat response or stress response. So if you find yourself doing that, recognize that you're not alone, you're not broken, and we can change it. It was there for a reason. It served a purpose, so there doesn't need to be any shame or blame around it. Okay, so that is my recommendation for people pleasing, the biggest takeaway there. And like I said, it's number 33 of the missions. Okay, so the next question that came out was I'd asked if there were any needs in the area of relationships, and someone had shared that she's questioning how she can build intimacy with her partner. Now, intimacy doesn't have to mean something sexual at this point, right? Intimacy is just connection, right? It could be physical touch. It could just be sharing a conversation, memories, experiences together, any kind of intimacy. So, what had come up for her is, from what I was gathering, and this is over messaging, from what I was gathering, it's that, I've tried to create physical intimacy or this connection, and it's kind of been turned down or not reciprocated. So I just don't even want to try anymore, right? So you're feeling kind of defeated. And the mission that I thought might be helpful to go back and listen to for this one is number 36, which is the connect before correct one. I just think it might share some insight on how you approach the conversation about intimacy, right? My two biggest things here, takeaways, and obviously I don't know all the ins and outs of this relationship, but I think one of the biggest things that you can do to build intimacy in your relationship is shared experiences. Okay, time together where you are sharing the experience, not just physical proximity to each other, right? You go bowling and you're both engaged in the activity and present in the moment. You watch a TV show together or a movie and you are talking about what's happening. You're sharing that experience, right? It's not just having it on in the background and one of you's on your phone and one of you's actually watching it and then you never talk about it. One falls asleep before it's even over, and right? That's not the shared experience. It's any time together that you have that shared connection, right? That's where that intimacy comes from. That's where, private jokes come up, right? And can be shared. That kind of intimacy can be created through those shared connections. So that's my biggest suggestion there. And one of the greatest people to talk about this and to learn from is Esther Perel. I think I've mentioned her in another video, but she is a wonderful, amazing psychotherapist to follow on Instagram. And she also has a new game. If you go to her website, Esther Perel, I think it's .com. She has this game, and it's just these questions that were developed for that exact thing to share connection and to build intimacy with someone, okay? And that could be your partner. So the other takeaway here, or the other thing to think about here, is making a list of why you fell in love with them, right? So you can see them in that positive light. You can remember those shared connections that you had in the past. Make a list of them. Make a list of all of those memories and think about those memories. And then bring one of them up to them. Bring up a memory and just laugh about it, connect about it, share about it, whatever it is, to just have that little bit of connection. I think can be really helpful in starting to build back up that intimacy. All right, so our next one was stopping negative self-talk. And this video, the number 3 mission, which was stop shoulding all over yourself, I think is a good one to revisit for negative self-talk. And I've actually never done one just on negative self-talk, so I think I need to add that to my list. But this would be number 3, our third mission together. And the biggest thing with negative self-talk, as I experience it daily, the biggest things for me in changing that are being aware that I'm doing it, right? So, kind of in a lot of these scenarios, I'll talk about the triple A, right? Which is the first A is awareness. So, being aware that I'm even doing it, right? The second is acceptance, accepting that this is where I'm at, this is a pattern I've developed and I need to change it. And then aspire, which is who do I want to be, right? What voice do I want to hear in my head? What do I want to say to myself, right? Thinking about who you want to be. So the first thing to do is that awareness is just being aware that you're doing it. And then the best thing I've found to do with negative self-talk is I interrupt it. I just interrupt it and I choose a different thought, okay? But I also had to do some deeper work around it, right? So I really had to ask myself, whose voice is this? Like, where is this coming from? Okay. Was it someone in your life that was very critical and that's the voice that you hear? Was it an experience that you had growing up or just how you interpreted messaging from our society? And that's what the voice is, right? Like, where is it actually coming from? That was really helpful for me in figuring out, why I have this negative self-talk and then how I can go about changing it. So, interrupting it, asking whose voice it is, really being honest with yourself where it's coming from, and then I challenge it. I have to challenge it. I have to ask myself, is this true? Right? Um, this is a practice that I still have to do, right? It's still something because we've talked about the sledding hills in the brain, right? So when you have a thought over and over and over again, it becomes like a sledding hill and it is super fast and efficient. And the more times you have the thought, it becomes a belief. The more you have a thought, it becomes a belief. Okay, so a belief is just practiced thoughts, right? So once you have that belief in there, that negative self-talk, and it becomes a belief, it is difficult to interrupt that and change that. It takes work and energy. It's something that you still have to keep working at, but it is possible because remember, our brains are plastic. We can change our brain. We can create a new sledding hill. All right. So my other suggestion around this topic is looking up Mel Robbins. Her most recent book is The High Five Habit. She really addresses negative self-talk in that book with her high five habit, which very simply, the idea is that first thing in the morning, you see your reflection in the mirror and you give yourself a high five. And you can tell yourself something like, you got this, or we can do this, whatever uplifting phrase you want to tell yourself. But the idea is that, the physical act of high fiving yourself is almost impossible, if not completely impossible to do while also thinking something negative about yourself, right? They're incompatible to do at the same time. So it's breaking yourself, it's interrupting that habit of that critical voice. Okay, so the next one that came up, this was actually someone also shared some great insight about her own relationship. So what she was finding is that she would be searching for faults in other people and finding excuses to not be with other people or reasons why they're not a good partner or they're not a good friend or whatever it is. And what she had a lot of awareness around and insight is that she was doing that so that she could avoid them not finding out that she wasn't worthy enough, right? So what it really broke down to was she doesn't feel worthy enough. And before they can realize that and take away the love or the friendship that she doesn't truly believe that she deserves, that she will find fault in them first. But then the flip side of that is her question was, but am I doing that? Or is it that I haven't set a boundary and these really are faults in the other people, and I'm basically tolerating too much, right, than I should. Okay, so this was a really insightful question to ask. And my biggest advice here is a couple things. So, but actually, the two missions that are going to help with this are number 13 and number 14. And uh, looking at how to question your thoughts, right? So, almost as if you're looking at the thought in front of you. You're taking it out of your mind and you're actually looking at it in front of you as if it is a thing, okay? And you're asking, is this thought true? Right? So let's say that she's in a good relationship, or you're in a good relationship and things are going well, and you're secretly feeling unworthy, or that you don't deserve their love or deserve to be happy. So you maybe even pick a fight or find a fault with her always late when we have to be somewhere. They're always late. They don't respect my time. I can't be in a relationship like this. If someone doesn't respect my time, how can I do this for the next 30 years? And you can just go and kind of find a fault and give all these reasons why that means that this relationship should end or you shouldn't be together, right? So then the challenge would be, because if you heard I said the word always, they're always late, right? When we hear that word always or never, we know that that's probably one of those extreme thoughts, right? Those all or nothing thoughts. So we have to challenge it, and we have to ask ourselves, is it true? Is it really true? Is it really true that they're late all the time, right? I'm sure you could probably find times when they're not late, right? And B, is it true that them being late means that they don't respect you, right? Probably not. But you have to ask that for yourself. So when you have those thoughts about the other partner, knowing that this is a pattern for you, right? The fact that she even knows that this is a pattern for her is huge. It's that awareness piece. So asking yourself when those thoughts come up about your partner or your friend, right? Is this true? And challenging it. You may find that it is true. Yeah, they are late all the time. And I know that that means that they don't respect me because this, and this, right? Or, okay, you may find that it's true, but you most likely won't. And you might come up with some other things that are going on. So I think it's just helpful to challenge your thoughts in that scenario when you're kind of seeing that pattern of yourself of finding fault in other people. And then the other piece to that is her worthiness, right? Recognizing that she is worthy of love because everyone is worthy of love. We are all worthy simply because of who we are. So those are the missions that are going to help with that one. So if you want me to send those to you, let me know, 13 and 14. Okay, the next one is boundaries. And I actually did do a mission about boundaries. It was number 15. Okay, so like I said, if you are kind of new to the Monday missions and you haven't had all these past ones, let me know. I will send you number 15. And the biggest takeaways with boundaries is that they are not rules, right? So I think a lot of times we can think of a boundary as something that we set that that person has to follow. And if they don't, we have the right to cut them out of our lives, right? And that's really not the way you want to look at a boundary, right? A boundary is for you. It's really what you will tolerate in a situation or a relationship, right? The hardest part about a boundary is knowing what you will do when it's tested, right? So you really have to think ahead and plan for that, okay? And when you get there, when you're in that planning process of thinking, what will I do if they cross it? You might realize that, I don't know that this needs to be a steadfast boundary for me. I think I could handle this in a different way, right? Or you may get to that point where you're, recognizing what you will do if they test that boundary. And you're like, yeah, I just absolutely have to do that for myself, right? Boundaries are for you. They're not for other people. And so looking ahead and planning what you will do when they cross that boundary, because I'm going to tell you, a boundary is usually needed. If a boundary is needed, it's going to be tested, right? So this may be your mother-in-law showing up at the house without notice, right? That might be a boundary that you need to set. That's just not something that you're willing to tolerate, and this is what it needs to look like. She's going to test that, right? If you try to put that boundary in place where before it was not a big deal, right? Nothing was really said. It was just allowed and accepted that she came over unannounced, and now you want to say that they need to give you a heads up, or can we please plan ahead because we have these different schedules and whatever your reasons are. That boundary is going to be tested because it hasn't been there in the past, and that means it's probably needed. So those are the biggest thing with boundaries, is just understanding that they are for you. It's what you're willing to tolerate, and you have to be willing to defend that, right? You have to recognize that it's needed, okay? They're not going to tell you that, oh yeah, you're right to set that boundary. You're right. I shouldn't come over unannounced, right? That's probably not going to happen. So you have to be comfortable in truly believe that that boundary is needed for you. And then you also need to plan of what you're going to do when it's tested. Okay. All right. So next one was being able to support someone that has anxiety. So someone that you love that is experiencing anxiety, and how to support them, right? So I know I've talked about a lot of us experience anxiety, but this is how do we handle it when a loved one is, right? So the mission that will help with this is number 6, which was called Anxiety Can Be a Good Thing. And it is coming from the place of us experiencing anxiety ourselves, but watching that mission and that video is going to help you understand the person that you love who's having anxiety. It's going to help you understand their brain, right? And when we know why anxiety is there, what its purpose is, and how it's showing up for that person, we can be more informed in supporting them. Okay, so my biggest things here for supporting someone with anxiety, and this I really think could be with any kind of difficulty that someone is going through, but one of the biggest things is not trying to fix it. Right? I know we want to fix it, we want to take it away, especially as if it's someone that we really love, whether it's our children or our spouse or our mom or our sister or our best friend. But we want to take that pain away for them, but trying to fix it for them, it could do a couple different things. It could just increase shame for them, and then blaming themselves that they can't just do the quick fix that you recommended, right? Like just take some deep breaths, or just calm down. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to worry about. Why are you so worried? There's nothing to worry about, right? We think that we're helping, but we may actually make it worse in those moments. So if you find yourself, don't beat yourself up for trying to fix it in the past, but recognize in your response to them the next time that they are having difficulties with their anxiety, if you find yourself trying to fix it, just kind of hold up. The other thing is to not take it personally, right? So if you are in a relationship with someone that has social anxiety, right? And they're all excited to go out to lunch with you, and then the morning of they cancel. Okay. That is very easy to take that personally, right? They're constantly canceling on me. They can't show up. They can't be there for me. It's so inconvenient. And now my day, I have to change my plans, whatever. It can be very easy to take that personally. And I'm telling you, it has nothing to do with you, right? They could have woken up that morning, and the overwhelm of having to go out and be social put them over the edge, right? And they're avoiding it. So it's things like that might happen. So when they engage in a way that feels like it's happening to you, not taking it personally is going to be very huge in your support of what they're going through. And then my last thing, two things for supporting someone with anxiety is co-regulation and letting them know that they're safe. Okay, you can let them know they're safe either by saying that to them, or just you could hold them and let them know that they're safe, depending on what kind of relationship it is. But co-regulation is similar in that just even embracing each other, and you having a slow heart rate, and you doing deep breaths while they feel you deep breathing and slowing, or having your breath slow, will have their system mirror yours, right? And you can kind of settle them down in the moment. So co-regulation can be really, really helpful in supporting the other person. There doesn't have to be any words. It can just be deep breathing together. It could just be, I've done this for my oldest, where I just, I'm just looking at him, and we breathe together, and I model it for them, to settle their system down, right? Instead of trying to fix it and try to ease the pain and try to distract, get their mind onto something else, right? Those are probably the biggest ways that you can support someone with anxiety, and that would be mission number 6, to go back and look and see why we have anxiety, what it is, and what to do about it. That'll be helpful. Okay, then my last one is people with different opinions. So the poll was, how to deal with people that have different views. And the reason I asked this is because I was thinking with the holidays coming up, this is probably going to be a big thing, especially with the state of the world right now. So the mission to go back and rewatch for this one is getting triggered by other people, number 17. getting triggered by other people. So my biggest advice for dealing with this is telling yourself over and over and over again that other people can think and feel whatever they want, and just sitting with that. Okay? Start now. Thanksgiving is in what, 2 weeks? Start now. Other people can think and feel whatever they want. It has nothing to do with me. Okay? If you can get to a place where you truly believe that, then you can go into the holiday or the family gathering or whatever it is, not starting out triggered before you even get there, right? So recognizing that everyone has a map, okay? Everyone has come to this point in their life based on their childhood, what was modeled for them, the messaging that they received from their community, their church, their school, their family, their grandparents, right? Messaging they received from society, the neighborhood kids, whatever. Everyone has a unique map. And if you can truly get yourself to the place where you believe that no one's map is better than anyone else's, no one's map is right or wrong, right? You will have much more peace when interacting with people that have different worldviews or different opinions than you do, okay? So the two biggest takeaways here: other people can feel and think whatever they want. Everyone has a map. Nobody's is right or wrong or better or worse, okay? It's okay to disagree, right? I'm not responsible for other people's feelings, okay? And if you find yourself getting caught up into, if I just make one more argument, if I just quote one more article, if I just say one more statistic, that person is surely going to see that I am right and they are wrong. How has it ever worked for you? Have you ever gotten into a disagreement with someone and at the end of it, they were like, wow, I have completely changed my entire worldview because you shared that one statistic with me. Thank you so much. Has that ever happened? Probably not, right? So it doesn't have to, right? You can sit down and break bread with someone and have dinner with someone and still have a different opinion about whatever's going on in the world, okay? My biggest advice here is to be curious. When we are curious, we cannot be judgmental, right? So if someone gives an opinion, ask, what makes you think that way? And not in a snarky way, right? How did you come to that decision? What makes you think like that? And be curious about how they came to whatever it is opinion that they have, okay? And then if you can see their map, awesome, right? If you still don't agree with it, right? That's fine. You don't have to, but you were curious and you avoided being judgmental. Okay, now, does that mean that that person is going to avoid judging you? No, they're not. But you have to understand that they're coming from their map. And they're not in a place where they're being curious instead of judgmental. They are being judgmental of you. But what they think of you has no meaning of your worth or who you are as a person, right? So if you can separate those two, stop attaching meaning and emotion to whether they change their opinion or not, or whether they agree with you or not, you'll be able to get straight through to the pumpkin pie, I promise. All right, so I know this was a long one, but I hope this was helpful. Helps you go back and even revisit some of the other missions that we had done, because sometimes when you go back and you look, you hear something different, or it just hits in a different way that really makes something click and pops for you. So if you would like any of the missions that I mentioned here sent to you, please just reply to this email or direct message me on Instagram. And I hope you have an amazing day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.